The boy crazy mom that tried to unalive all of her children to be with a man that didn't like kids. This is the case of Diane Downs, a mother just as evil as Casey Anthony. Diane Downs was seen as promiscuous and boy crazy all of her life. She married her high school sweetheart but was pretty much cheating on him since day one. Her and her husband had 2 daughters together, Christy and Cheryl. Diane also got pregnant 2 times from the affairs that she was having. One baby she didn't keep, and then one baby she did, a little boy named Daniel. Obviously, her husband divorced her, and then she went on to date man after man, many which who were married, including this man, Nick, who Diane was obsessed with. Diane loved Nick, and Nick, well, didn't want to be a stepfather to her 3 kids, so he ended up breaking it off. And what followed Diane being rejected from Nick is some of the most evil shit I've ever heard of. On May 19th, 1983, Diane came running in the ER because her and all of her kids had been shot in what Diane said was an attempted carjacking. Diane had a very minor wound to her arm, but Danny, age 3, and Christy, age 8, were clinging to life. Cheryl, age 7, was tragically already gone by the time that Diane got to the hospital. This was Diane's story. She said that late at night on a back road, her and her kids were driving and some strange man flagged her down, thinking that maybe he needed some help. Diane stopped the car and got out to help him. That's when she said that this man demanded her car keys, and then they started fighting back and forth with the car keys for a minute. And Diane says that she pretended to throw the car keys, which I find funny because that's a prank that doesn't even work on my dog anymore. But while the carjacker was going to find the keys that Diane pretended to throw, she was able to drive away. And at some point during all of that, the carjacker had shot her and all of her children. So Diane's story doesn't really make any sense. Also, she didn't really seem upset and was also making like really inappropriate jokes. And that guy, Nick, that had just rejected Diane, was publicly saying that he thought that Diane shot her kid so he would be with her. And pretty much since day one, the police and the public thought that Diane had to be involved. Diane tried to do a bunch of TV interviews to try and clear her name. She was really defensive about people suspecting her, but it did not help her at all. It only made people suspect her even more. Thankfully, both of Diane's other children ended up surviving, but 3-year-old Danny was left paralyzed from the waist down, and 8-year-old Chrissy had suffered a stroke, which left her in a really bad condition. But Christy was able to write down that her mother had shot all of them, and Diane was arrested. And this is gonna drive you guys absolutely crazy, but Diane came into her trial extremely pregnant. I'm not sure why anyone would choose to sleep with a woman who's being very publicly accused of trying to unalive all of her children, but it's believed that Diane purposely tried to get pregnant to get like some sympathy with the jurors. Obviously did not work. She was found guilty, and that baby was adopted by another family. To this day, Diane maintains her innocence and sticks to her story. And yes, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are already commenting it, a lot of people think that she looks just like Janelle from Teen Mom, and yeah, personally I see it.
Good morning, y'all. Get ready with me to go to practice while I tell y'all a story time about the first time I skipped school. Also, I want to thank y'all for like so many followers, because who would have known? Who would have known? Anyways, so this was in 8th grade, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 8th grade. And I have never, like, I was such a goody two shoes in 8th grade, y'all. Like, wouldn't hurt to fry. Like, oh, I was so sweet. But today, I was feeling a little bit rambunctious, a little bit rebellious. I wanted to, yeah. So my friend had this idea, like, hey, let's skip orchestra since we don't want to go. And the thing about orchestra was like a 2-period class. So literally nobody wanted to go to it, because you had to go to it right after lunch, and nobody wanted to do that. So while we're like making up a plan about how we're gonna do this, she's like, okay, so we're gonna go to lunch. And no, she was like, we're gonna just go right after second period, we're just gonna go and go to the bathroom. So I'm like, okay, bet. So we go to the bathroom, we go into the biggest stall, and we're chilling. I'm on the phone with my boyfriend at the time. It's like we made it past the first period of orchestra without being caught. And our plan was just to go back to regular school after orchestra, which is so stupid, but the teacher didn't see us during the whole entire time we were like at school. So then a teacher comes into the bathroom and asks us, like, what are y'all doing? And we're like, oh, we're just Like, we made up a lie and said that my friend needed a pad, so, and this was her first time having a period type shit. And let me tell y'all, I'm a good actor. When it comes to acting, one thing about me, I'm gonna play it off. I'm a lie. So then everything goes as it's supposed to be. Then lunch comes, and I forget that I'm getting picked up early. Yeah. So apparently they call my name in the cafeteria, and obviously I'm not in the cafeteria, so obviously I don't hear them. Then my friend comes into the bathroom, is like, you know they're looking for you in the cafeteria, right? What you mean they're looking for me? Then they pull us at the bathroom, and we're like, we're on our period, so we had to do girl stuff, and it was very stressful, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell y'all, my mom did not believe that for a second. She was like, no, you're skipping school, da 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 da. Anyways, I got in trouble, like, really bad.
One of my biggest fears, unfortunately, became a reality. Get ready with me, story time. Over 5 years ago, I actually used to work at a grocery store in my city. At this job, I first started off as a grocery bagger, and then I moved my way up to be a GM, which is a general merchandiser. So I basically restock products, and then I shortly made my way to becoming a clerk, which is another word or term for cashier. I do want to mention, when I became a clerk or a cashier, I was working at that job for maybe like a year. I was about to hit like a year. In my opinion, when you work at a grocery store or somewhere where you're helping out customers, kind of start to get a feel of who your regular customers are. It was a weekday and I was working in the afternoon, and this guy came in my line. And again, remember I said I do recognize regulars? Well, I just knew that this guy wasn't a regular. At least I had never seen him. So this older man comes into my line, and in my opinion, he's one of those guys that if I were to see out on the streets, I would probably like turn the other way. Not even like that I'm judging the way he looks. It's just like the way he was like looking at me, like it was an evil look, if that makes sense. Like it was scary. Like me being alone and I see that, I'm running the other way. This man is next in my line. He had one item. He asked me like the most like random question. He was like, hey, do you know where this item is? And I was just like, oh, it's like right behind you. I don't know, it was just like weird. It's like he knew, but he still wanted to ask me. And then the second weird question that he asked me was, what is my name? And if you work at a grocery store, you're always gonna have a name badge. So it was just weird that he asked me for my name. I do understand if you know you want to get to know me and you are a regular, you're going to become a regular at the store, you kind of just want to have a conversation. But the way he asked me for my name wasn't just like a normal conversation. It was kind of like, oh, I want to investigate you, who are you, one of those type of conversations. Kind of just let it be, and I was like, all right, Ash, just move on, just scan his order and get him out of here. He was the type of like customer where he would just like look at you, scan his order, like he would just like stare you down. And personally, when I go to a grocery store, I don't even like look at the cashier. If I do, I'll like glance at her, but nothing where I'm like staring at her, like creeping her out. Anyway, so that guy leaves, and then later on in the night, I think I was working like a 12 to 9, and I remember this guy came around like 9 o'clock, almost time for like me to clock out. And one of the girls comes up to me and says, hey, like there's this guy, he's looking for you. And I was like, who? Like, do I know who he is? And she was like, I'm not sure, but like he was describing somebody and the only person that fits the description is you. And I was like, that's a little bit weird. Also, I do want to mention that I was in the break room at this time when she told me that this guy was like looking for me. Me being me, I was like, who's this person? I want to go see who it is. But I'm a very observant person. I'm also a very like paranoid person. So I was being sneaky about it. I would kind of just like peek a little bit, or I would go up to like the office and I would kind of try to see from the office out to the store. Sure enough, when I spot this man, I was like, dude, there's no way this is the guy that I had the weird encounter with earlier in the day. Okay, like that's weird. Why is he asking for me? Like, I'm not getting good vibes off of him. I felt very uncomfortable, and I feel like one of like my biggest fears is always like having a stalker. I feel like that's just any girl's fear, is having a stalker, right? I refused to go back out on the floor, and he ended up leaving. And tell me why the next day he comes back and I'm at the register, and one of the girls comes up to me and she was like, hey, like, I think that guy is back. I recognize his car. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, that guy who asked about you, he was like, I don't think he's walked in. Have you seen him? And I was like, no, I haven't seen him yet. Why? She's like, okay, I'm gonna switch spots with you. You go hide. And I was like, oh my God, like, there's no way this is my reality right now. So thankfully she let me out of the register. I ended up going in the very back to like the milk box area, and there's also a medicine room. So I literally hid in the medicine room, and I was like, bro, there's like no way that I have a stalker right now. Like, what in the actual fuck? Before my coworker actually let me out, she told me to stay nearby the back phone in case he leaves, that way I can come back out. And I was like, okay, cool. So I remember she ended up calling the phone, and I answered, and she was like, hey, like, this guy's looking for you again. And I was like, are you serious? And she was like, yeah, like, he's looking for you, and I don't feel like he's looking for you for a good reason. It's like, because it's been an hour and he's still in the store and he still hasn't bought anything. She was like, usually if you're gonna be in the store for this long, you at least have a cart full of groceries. I'm gonna probably have to wait until after closing for this like man to leave, or until I'm able to leave. So to keep my mind busy, I ended up leaving the medicine room and I went to the milk box, which honestly is still in the back, but when it's in this corner and the milk box is on the other side. And so I just started filling up milk because I was like, oh, I'm gonna be back here, let me at least help the closer out. I'm filling the milk up and I just see like a hand right there, like grabbing milk or faking that he's gonna grab a milk. And I was like, bro, there's no way this is my stalker. And so I look, and sure enough, it was him. And I was like, oh, hell no. So I literally left the milk box area and I went back to the medicine cabinet or the medicine room. And I just stood there. I was literally hiding in between boxes. I think I even have a Snapchat. I might insert it if I do find it, of me literally hiding in the milk box. I was like, bro, I can't believe this is my reality right now. At this point, it was already closing time, and we closed the grocery store at 11 o'clock. I was supposed to clock out at 9 o'clock, and tell me why I did not leave the grocery store until almost 12 in the morning. I left that late because this man's car was still in the parking lot. He had one of those car vehicles where, like, you know, when somebody passes away, they have like that certain type of vehicle they put like the casket in and the person in. Yeah, he had one of those. Yeah, when I seen that he had that type of car, I was like, oh hell, I'm not about to walk out, and the last thing I need is for him to know what kind of car I drive. This guy finally leaves, and then I end up leaving as well. As I'm on my way home, I decided that I wanted to go to the gym, and the gym to my job was only like 3 minutes away. It was over the bridge. I walked into the gym and I went to the squat rack, and tell me why I seen my stalker at the gym. Welcome to part 2 of the time I had a stalker. If you have not watched part 1, I highly recommend you to go watch that video first. That way you guys can get a clear understanding of what exactly is going on. But let's get started. At this point, I am at the gym, and I did arrive to the gym. I made sure that that specific car wasn't there. I did see in the comments you guys left that he drives a hearse. Yes, he does drive a hearse. That's the type of car that he drove. I just couldn't think of the name at the moment when I was saying the story time. I would drop a picture right here of what that car looks like. So imagine having a stalker and he drives this. Of course you would be creeped out like I was. I didn't see his car at the parking lot of the gym, and neither the shopping center, so I ended up getting down. I thought the coast was clear. Keep in mind, at this point, it was roughly 12:30 in the morning, and I was just going about my night. I just went through this situation. Let me at least go to the gym so I can let all of this out. The gym has always been my safe spot, so that is the place that I ran to. Particular night, I was doing legs. Oh, I make my way to the squat rack, and then after the squat rack, I ended up going to like the back extensions, and the back extensions at this gym was in this corner, whereas the squat rack was on this side. So I kind of made my way to the other side. I was about to do the back extensions. I freaking see my stalker, and him and I made eye contact, and I was like, dude, there's absolutely no way that this man is at the gym. First of all, I've never even seen him at the gym. I usually go at different times, so I just knew that if this guy was a regular at the gym, then I would have recognized him already. And because I knew that he was already stalking me and constantly asking for me, I just knew that he wasn't at the gym to work out. I need to stop working out, and I need to make a plan. I ended up leaving the back extension machine thingy, and then I ended up grabbing some dumbbells. I'm gonna go to the mirror and see what his next move is. I also wasn't doing full sets. I was doing squats. After I was done with that, I noticed that he ended up grabbing the 5-pound weights and he ended up going to like a section nearby me, but still a little bit distant. Let me do one more set and then I'm going to leave. So I did one more set of those squats, and then I remember I ended up leaving to the Stairmaster. And tell me why. He only did literally like one set, and then he ended up putting his 5-pound weights away, and then he was done. Why is it that whenever I'm done with my reps, he's suddenly done too, and he just started? Like, okay, I'm putting 2 and 2 together that he's actually here for me. I also feel like what gave it away was the fact that him and I made eye contact more than 3 times at the gym. And usually I don't make eye contact with anybody at the gym. Everyone just kind of minds their business. So the fact that this man just kept staring at me and was finishing reps whenever I was finishing reps, like, dude, if I were to start a set and I would be done with it, suddenly he would be done with it too, and he had just started. Like, it just made absolutely no sense. So like I said, I ended up going to the Stairmaster. I'm at least going to be here for maybe like 2 minutes, and let's see what his next move is. So sure enough, this man goes to the little bicycle, and I was like, are you serious? Like, this man just started this other new set, and now he put his stuff down because he didn't want to lose me, and he went to the bicycle, which is literally like nearby the Stairmaster. So the Stairmaster is right here, and then maybe I would say the bicycle like machine is like 10 feet away. So he was still nearby me. Basically told myself, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay on this machine for at least 5 extra minutes and let's see what he does. He ended up leaving. I honestly lost track that I had a stalker. I was just so in tune with my workout because of everything that was going on. I just kind of wanted to zone everything out, which is my fault, but also too, it's just like, damn, I don't want to let this man control my life. So I stopped paying attention to him, and of course, because I didn't pay attention to him anymore, I lost him. I don't see him anymore. Maybe he left. Let me go to the restroom. And so after I was done, I went to the restroom. Before I go to the restroom, I'm gonna have my phone out and I'm gonna be recording. So I'm gonna walk and have my phone out like this. If he's actually in the restroom, my recording will dictate and determine if he was actually there for me. I'm going to the restroom, not knowing that he's there, but I'm just assuming at this point that he's at the restroom because he obviously was nowhere to be found in this building. And so I'm walking to the restroom, and I swear to you, he's walking out of the restroom and I'm walking inside of like the little lobby, and I was like, oh my god, like, please. Continue walking into the girls' restroom / locker room, but this time when I spotted him, I made sure that I was looking down. So especially because I knew that I was recording, so whatever I didn't see, my phone was going to capture. Tell me why I go into the restroom, I replay the video, and this man is walking out and just staring at me. Like, he made eye contact with my phone camera. I'm gonna try to enter the clip if I do have the video, but it was so scary. I was like, okay, at this point, it just confirmed to me that he is here for me, because this man was like just staring at my camera for like 10 plus seconds until I'm walking in and he's walking out. And again, if I'm going to the gym and I make eye contact with someone, I'm gonna just make eye contact with someone and then I'm gonna look away. I'm not gonna just stare at them. At this point, I'm paranoid as hell. And I feel like the craziest part and the most scariest part to me was the fact that I didn't see his car. So where the heck did he park? Come to find out, he ended up parking like on the side, like on the corner. Like, there wasn't even a parking spot over there, but he ended up parking over there. So obviously I wasn't gonna see his car. I ended up staying in the restroom for 20 minutes, and then I finally walked out because I was like, dude, I have to go home. Like, there's no way I'm gonna stay the whole night at the gym. And so I grew some balls, I walked out, and then I went straight to the front desk, and thankfully there was a guy at the front desk, and I basically told him, I was like, hey, did some old guy walk out? He looks like this. And he said, yeah, he walked out maybe 20 minutes ago. And I was like, okay, perfect. Do you mind seeing if this specific car is outside, or if you see him, because I think he's my stalker. He was like, if you want, I can walk you to your car. You can just chill here for a little bit. So he went to go check outside. His car wasn't there. And then I ended up just staying at the gym for another like 10 minutes. And then he offered, he was like, do you want me to walk you to your car? Like, I'll make sure you're in your car and you're actually driving off. And I was like, yeah, that'll mean a lot to me. So thankfully he did that. W to him, because he saved my day. And then I just ended up going home. I took the freeway. I did continue going to work because the person that I am, I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna let this man know that I'm scared of him. But since that incident, I honestly stopped seeing him. Never see his car there. So I don't know if they ended up telling him something at my job, or he just kind of noticed that I wasn't there anymore. I feel like also the main reason he kind of assumed that I stopped working there was because they ended up switching me to a morning shift, so I really wasn't there in the afternoon. There was one time where I was working in the morning, I seen his car at the parking lot, and if I see his car there, for the most part, like a lot of my coworkers already knew, my managers already knew, so whenever they would see his car, they would just tell me, Ash, go to the back. So again, if he were to walk in, he would never see me. After, I just ended up quitting because I got a better job opportunity, so I really haven't seen him. I did see a comment, people were asking me if I worked at Stater Brothers. Yes, it was the Stater Brothers. Now that specific Stater Brothers is closed, I honestly never seen this man ever again. One, I'm never really around that side of town anymore, and two, I remember when I quit, I still went to shop at that Stater Brothers, and a lot of my coworkers were telling me that he just never came anymore. So I feel like he kind of just left, and I don't know what he did or where he's at or if he's still alive, but I'm glad that I don't have him as my stalker. I did see a question when someone said, why didn't you report it to security or to the police? I feel like nowadays you have to just have so much evidence for a police. Like, I did tell the police and he was like, oh, that's just not enough evidence. Police nowadays just take action when something actually happens versus when you're kind of warning them and giving them a heads up that this situation is going on. So police never did anything about it. Security, they don't really take their job seriously. My managers couldn't really do anything, but they did know about the situation. They were definitely on my side. They were keeping me safe. But again, like, if police couldn't do anything about it, what really can my managers do other than the fact that they would take me out of the register or tell me to go hide? So they did do their part, which I'm super grateful for. That is the end of my story time of the time that I had a stalker, unfortunately.
Put a finger down if in high school you had a YouTube channel and your whole school knew about it so you weren't embarrassed, and one day when you were sitting in your first period class, a girl came up to you and asked you why you were promoting your YouTube channel in the girls' washroom, and you had no idea what she was talking about. So obviously you ran to the washroom to investigate, and you found that written on the back of every single bathroom stall door was your YouTube channel and comments about how you were so amazing and beautiful and how everyone should subscribe to you. And this was really embarrassing because everyone was accusing you of writing these things, but you weren't. So you wrote a message back and asking this person to stop writing these things, and then the next day you found that they had leaked your personal information and written down your address on the bus that you take to school. So now you're really creeped out and you were scared that someone was stalking you. So you and your friends were determined to figure out who this person was. And the next day when you went to school, you all hid in a different washroom of the school trying to catch this person red-handed. And while you were hiding in the washroom, you noticed that a girl came out without flushing and she was holding a red marker. So you knew that you had caught her red-handed. So you followed her out of the washroom, and you and all your friends went up to her and asked her if she was the one that had been writing on the bathroom stall. Like for a part 2, it gets so good. And then after you and your friends confront this girl and ask her why she's been writing about you in the bathroom stalls, she still denies it, even though you literally just caught her red-handed. So you ask her what her name is in order to report her to the principal, but she gives you a really obviously fake name like Sarah Smith. Luckily, one of your friends ends up recognizing her and pulling up her Facebook profile. So you show her Facebook profile and ask her why she lied about her name if she wasn't guilty for writing in the bathroom stalls. And then she denies that that Facebook profile belongs to her and says it's a catfish account. So then you tell her you're not going to report her to the principal, but she needs to stop this behavior. So she stops writing in the bathroom stalls, but she doesn't stop stalking you. And one night when you're having a sleepover with your cousin gets a phone call from a random blocked number, and she picks up, and it's some girl on the other line saying how she's a huge fan of you and your YouTube videos, and she wants to know why you haven't posted on your YouTube channel in a month. So you and your cousin find this really creepy, and you hang up the phone until you receive a text message from an unknown number sending you to a Twitter account like for part 3. So then you and your cousin click on this Twitter link, and it takes you to a Twitter profile dedicated to you, a total fan page titled Mo for President with like 100 reasons why you would make a good president. And you see that some of these tweets are dated back to a year, and you get totally freaked out and block this number. And then when you get back to school on Monday, you don't see her, and you honestly don't see her for like months. So you end up almost forgetting about this entire incident and forgetting about her until one day she starts riding the school bus with you again. And every day she'll sit one seat closer to you until she's literally sitting right behind you, to the point where she can like smell your hair and hear everything that you're saying. But you have no right telling her not to sit beside you on the school bus, so you don't know what to do. And then you start to realize that she actually is eavesdropping on everything that you're saying. So you get so fed up that one day you follow her home from school and you approach her and tell her that if she doesn't stop stalking you, you're going to ring on her doorbell and tell her parents what she's doing. And then she finally leaves you alone.
I lied about how I spent New Year's Eve almost every year since I started dating my boyfriend. During college, I spent most of my New Year's Eves in Taipei. I would tell my parents I'd be having dinner with my sisters. Then I'd run off to buy cup noodles and pudding from the convenience store, park myself in front of my laptop, and video call my boyfriend from the US to have dinner with him virtually. But with the 16-hour time difference, I'd be eating at 8 o'clock at night, and he'd be waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to hang out with me. I spent an hour or so talking to a half-asleep boy, eating my favorite junk food until he got too tired and wanted to sleep again. After he'd hang up, I'd stare at the blank screen screen with a full heart. Even if we only got to talk for 15 minutes, the fact that he got up at an ungodly hour just so I could slurp noodles at him made me incredibly happy. So after our call ended, I'd get ready to go out to join the rest of my friends for a party at some club. We did this every year until he graduated from college and I graduated from my master's program. When we finally spent our first New Year's Eve together, we did so as newlyweds.